Hey guys, welcome back to Geek Space. Today we're going to be taking a look into what Joey Drew Studios has been cooking up for the Bendy franchise. While they've been pretty quiet recently, that doesn't mean that nothing's happening. Behind the scenes there are multiple projects currently in development, from upcoming games to more cinematic projects. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First, let's talk about the project that seems closest to release, Bendy: The Cage. Originally announced back in 2023, The Cage is an upcoming third-person action horror game set during the events of Bendy and the Dark Revival. Players will take control of Henry Stein yet again, as he attempts to escape from the Keeper's prison filled with dangerous ink creatures and failed experiments. Now, if you've played Dark Revival, then you'll remember that Audrey discovers Henry locked away inside the Keeper's prison. Well, The Cage is finally going to show us what happened between that moment and Henry's appearance on the battlefield during the game's climax. One of the most interesting aspects of the game seems to be its focus on madness and sanity. Throughout the marketing, Joey Drew Studios has repeatedly used phrases like "test your sanity" and "fight the madness", alongside imagery of spirals and distorted environments. The official description of the game says that players will embark on a twisted tale of Henry's self-discovery, suggesting that Henry's mental state and self-reflection could play a major role in the story. The game also features new and returning enemies who were once imprisoned alongside Henry. We've already seen blood-stained Lost Ones, this goofy-looking fella right here, and even the Warden himself. Over the past few years, Joey Drew Studios has released several teasers and trailers, giving us a glimpse into the game's expanded combat, new locations, and much grittier and more mature take on the Bendy universe. While we still don't have the exact release date, The Cage is currently expected to launch sometime in 2026. For many fans, this is the next major chapter in the Bendy franchise, and it's clear that Joey Drew Studios has been putting a lot of effort into making it one of their biggest projects yet. But while The Cage is the next game we're getting, it's far from the only project that Joey Drew Studios is working on. In fact, they're also developing what could be the most important game in the entire franchise, Bendy and the Ink Factory. This is the third mainline entry in the Bendy series, and it's the conclusion to the current story, which started all the way back in Bendy and the Ink Machine, and continued through Bendy and the Dark Revival. Unlike The Cage, which fills in a missing piece of the timeline, Ink Factory seems focused on pushing the story forwards. At the moment, we don't know much, but we do know that it'll continue the Bendy saga following the events of Dark Revival. At the end of Dark Revival, Audrey plays the end reel, sending both her and Bendy back to the real world. She also reshapes the Ink world itself, becoming its new master, the title once given to her father, Joey Drew himself. However, we also get the reveal that Gent has stolen back the Ink Machine. What they're going to do with it next? We'll have to find out. And we definitely will, as by the Steam page, we can see that we'll be travelling between the Ink and human worlds. The official game description even reads, "Survive the horrific challenges of two worlds, bound by ink and a terrible machine." The screenshots even show that we'll be exploring the real-world Gent facility. We can even see little Bendy's shadow as well. And I just have to say, the visuals look incredible. So far, Joey Drew Studios has remained fairly quiet about the project, only showing a handful of teasers. However, that hasn't stopped fans from theorising about where the story could go next, who we'll be playing as, and what role familiar characters like Audrey, Henry, and Bendy himself might have to play. Because of how little information has been revealed, Ink Factory is still surrounded by a lot of mystery. But one thing is clear, this is being positioned as the conclusion to a major chapter of the Bendy story, and a huge step forward for the future of the franchise. But before we move on, it's worth stepping back for a moment, and looking at just how far Bendy's actually come. What started as a small Sunday afternoon indie project about a twisted machine, has slowly grown into something much bigger than anyone could have ever expected. We went from exploring the Ink Machine in Bendy and the Ink Machine, to uncovering the deeper secrets of the studio in Bendy and the Dark Revival. And now we're looking at not just one, but multiple upcoming projects expanding this universe even further. At this point, it's no longer just a single horror game series. It's becoming a full franchise, with multiple connected stories, different timelines, and a growing universe that's still being expanded today. And that's exactly why what comes next is so interesting, because games aren't the only thing that Joey Drew Studios has been working on. In fact, the Bendy franchise is about to take a huge step outside of gaming entirely. Five Nights at Freddy's has done it, and now it's Bendy's turn. A live-action Bendy and the Ink Machine movie is currently in development. This was officially announced back in 2023 as a collaboration between Joey Drew Studios and Radar Pictures, and is set to be directed by Andrea Verdal. And while details are still very limited, the project is confirmed to be actively moving forward. What makes this so interesting is how it's so different from anything else in the franchise thus far. Instead of a stylized horror game, we're talking about a full live-action adaptation of the Ink Machine story, bringing forward the world of Bendy into a completely new medium. It could be 100% practical effects like the FNAF movie, or it could be similar to Space Jam, with 2D creatures in a 3D world. At the moment, we don't have a full release date, cast list, or even a full synopsis, but Joey Drew Studios has promised a movie that will be as beginner friendly as possible, while still catering to the long-time fans. The idea alone shows just how far the franchise has expanded. Bendy is no longer just a game series, it's becoming a full multimedia universe. And if Joey Drew Studios actually manages to pull this off, it could completely change how some people see the franchise going forward. From a small indie horror game, to multiple upcoming titles, and now a live-action movie, it's safe to say that Bendy has come a very long way. Alright guys, we've reached the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. But now, I want to know what you think. Are you excited for the future of Bendy? Which project are you most looking forward to? Let me know down below. But anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!